So it looks like we've got more media bias from CNN. Looks like we've got more mainstream media bias against Bernie Sanders. Okay? And they're showing an Iowa poll here. But what's weird about this Iowa poll is that it's not a recent poll. It's over a month ago. So let's check this out.
Last Iowa poll from the Des Moines Register CNN poll, it showed Klobuchar about the fifth place. Still, there's still time, of course, but she's made some inroads, but still be.
So if you see the date here, it's November 8th through 13th. Okay, it is now December 24th. Okay, so that means that it's literally over a month old. Okay, it's like we're talking like 6 weeks old of a poll. Doing that using a 6-week-old poll because it's a CNN poll is incredibly disingenuous and lacking integrity. Okay, and remember, the thing that used to enrage me so much back in 2016, and it still haunts me to this day, is that whenever you listen to the radio, watch CNN, or look at the delegate counter, they would include superdelegates in the delegate count, despite the fact they don't vote until the convention in June. So it makes it look like Hillary's blowing Bernie out of the water when really they're having a close race in terms of delegate count. But because they throw that in there, everybody's now under the impression that, oh, he's going to lose. I don't want to waste my vote. And it's all these subtle things. And it's really not that subtle. Same thing happens to Andrew Yang. They just pull him off of a lot of these polls. Same thing will happen to him. And it's so obvious what they're doing. It is so obvious. And that's why I loved when Andrew Yang stood up to MSNBC. It was like, hey, all you need to do is apologize and I will come on your show. Dope move by Andrew, because they do this to non-establishment figures. This is what they do. And so coincidentally, this is a poll that has Bernie at only 15% and in fourth, okay? But when we go to the RCP average, the Real Clear Politics average, which, by the way, stop looking at single polls, okay? Really what matters is the aggregate data, because there's this thing called an outlier, okay? It's not necessarily indicative of the actual trend, and that's why you got to be careful about looking at a single poll. And if we look at the aggregate, Buttigieg is at 22 in first, Bernie's at 20 in second, okay? This is the aggregate, this is the average numbers, okay? This is the average. So he's in second on average at 20 points, okay? But in this one on CNN, he's coming in at fourth with 15%. But they use that, which, it'd be one thing, right, if they used a CNN poll that had just came out now. They just conducted it and finished it up. That's one thing. This is an entirely different thing right here, okay? This is an entirely different thing. And it's absolutely unacceptable. It's so bad that even Julian Castro, who I've definitely come to hate less, says if CNN actually aired this poll today, it's unacceptable to use a poll from 6 weeks ago simply because they paid for it. Publish a timely poll instead. Journalistic integrity shouldn't be sacrificed for corporate interests. And so, believe it or not, I have come to dislike Julian Castro a lot less. He was going after Biden, and some of his stuff has been pretty good. And I think he seems to be doing like a sort of outreach towards Bernie supporters. Some people are hypothesizing he might be a VP candidate, although I think we want, a woman of color as a VP candidate. Particularly, ideally, would be Nina Turner. But regardless, I think the most important observation to make here is that Julian Castro has defended Bernie, and then, you understand that he may be not as bad as we think. I'm not really sure, but, him calling this out is definitely very significant. But don't fall for the mainstream media's lies and bogus. Imagine doing a segment based on a poll that's over 6 weeks ago. Absolutely unacceptable, complete lack of journalistic integrity. But what more can you expect from CNN, Clinton News Network?